Alright, so in this chapter, in this section, we're going to be implementing our application in Plunker. Alright, which is basically gives you a little hosting environment for your Angular application. Alright, so what we're going to do is you go to plnkr.co and we're going to launch the editor. And if you have a GitHub account, I'd suggest logging in. You should have a button over here to log in. That way you can save your plunks and you just have a little more access control. Alright, so if we look on the left here, these are the files that you're provided with by default. Okay, we don't need a README, so I'm going to get rid of that. Alright, and we have an index file which has just the basic HTML5 layout, a script.js file which is empty, and a style sheet which is empty. Alright, so first thing I want to do is bring our resources into our file structure here. Alright, now as far as I know, you can't just drag files over and upload them, so we're just going to create a new file. Alright, and first thing I want to do is bring over the bootstrap files. So bootstrap.min.css. Alright, and then we'll go to that, back to Sublime Text and grab it. Okay, so I'm just going to select all and copy and paste that in. Save. Alright, so that's that. Now we want the bootstrap JavaScript file. So we'll create a new file. And it's going to be bootstrap.min.js. Okay, and we'll go copy that. Okay, now we'll go paste that in. Whoops. Okay, and we want to save. Next, let's see, what else do we got? Our style sheet. Alright, now there's already a style.css file, so I'm just going to copy everything we have here and I'm going to paste it into that file. Okay, we'll save that. Now when we work with Angular, we're going to be working with views. Alright, basically we're going to have our main index file. Alright, and that's going to have all of the head information, it's going to have the menu, and then we're going to have an area in between where we need to put a directive, and that directive is going to insert whatever template or layout that we need, and that's going to go by the URL. Alright, so we're going to set up routes, but for now let's just get the index file and paste it in here. Alright, now I'm going to save this how it is, and I just want to make sure that everything's going to display correctly. So I'm going to go up here and click this open the embedded view. Alright, so this is what our site looks like now. We don't have our about page and all that stuff uploaded yet, but we can see that the CSS file is good, the bootstrap files all working, so that's good. Now this script.js, this is going to be our main app file. Basically we're going to create an Angular application here, but before we do that we need to actually include the Angular script. Alright, and there's actually a few things we need to include, so I'm going to go ahead and go to the index, and down at the bottom, okay, right before, actually we don't need this. Okay, so right before the closing body tag, I'm just going to paste in a bunch of references here. Okay, so the first one is just jQuery. Okay, so we can use jQuery. And we're using the Google CDNs for these. Next is the angular.min.js. That's the main Angular application file. Okay, that's all the core functionality lies in that file. Now I forget which version it was, but as of the latest version, the routing system isn't included in this file. Alright, you have to include a separate file, which is the angular-route.js file. Okay, and that's going to make it so that we can set up routes for our URL. And I almost forgot, but most importantly, we want to reference our main script. Okay, so it's going to be script and src, and it's going to be script.js. Alright, so whoop, I forgot that we have the ending tag thing. Alright, so that's going to be our main app file. Okay, so we'll save this. And let's open that script file up. Alright, now the first thing we need to do, everything in Angular can be considered a module, alright, including the main application. So that's what we need to do. We need to declare the application. So we want to say variable app is going to be equal to angular.module. Alright, and then we want the name of our application. I'm just going to call it computer. So that will basically create the application. Now to initialize it, let's save that. We need to go to index, and in the HTML tag right here, we're going to create, or we're going to add a directive. Okay, and this directive is called ng-app. Alright, and that basically defines our entire application. So everything in this tag is our application. Alright, so we want to set that to the name of it, which I called computer. Alright, so this right here should match this right here. Alright, that's pretty much the first step. So we'll save that. Now to create our routes, as I told you, we have the Angular route.js that handles all the routes, but we need to define these routes, and we can do that in our main script file. Alright, basically we're going to add a config function here, and we could do app.config. Okay, everything here is going to be done to the app, to the application. But what most developers will do is they'll remove this semicolon, and we'll just kind of chain things along. Okay, so basically this is the app, and then we're putting the .config right after it. Alright, so let's open this up like that, and we'll put a semicolon for now, but we're going to chain other things onto this as well. Now before we can do this, what we're using, I guess the module we're using for routing is called ng-route. And when you want to bring in something like that into your app, you need to claim it as a dependency. And you want to do that up here. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to have basically an array of dependencies. Alright, even if we didn't have any dependencies, you should still have these brackets. I think it throws an error if you don't. But what we're going to do is we're going to include ng-route. Okay, and that's going to allow us to use the routing provider. Alright, now in here, we have quite a bit to do here. We're going to open up some brackets here, and then we're going to specify our route provider. Alright, so route provider, and you want to have these semicolons. Basically, this is dependency injection. We're injecting the route provider into this function or method. Alright, and then after that, we want to call our function. Alright, and in the function, we need to have route provider as a parameter or an argument. Okay, so now we can use the route provider in here. Alright, so let's create our routes. Let's see, route. Oops. Route provider, and then we're going to say dot when. Alright, and then inside of this when, we're going to have the route we want. Alright, now we're going to have our application, and then, oops, we're going to have our application and then slash, what do we want to do? It's like this. I think it looks like something like that. And basically we're just going to use this to access different routes, which can have access to different controllers. So basically right here I'm going to say when the application is at /main, then let's see, when it's at /main, then we're going to set the template URL. Oops. Set template URL to main.html. Okay, so this is going to be our view or template, whatever you want to call it. And then we also need to set it to a controller. All right, so controller is going to be called main CTRL. Okay, some people will actually spell out controller, and a lot of developers will just use CTRL. It's all your preference. Just make sure that it's consistent. All right, so that is our first route. Let me just indent this. Okay, so basically what it's saying is when we go to /main, then we want to load this template or view, and we want to use this controller. Now to create the controller, we can just tack it on to this config. Okay, so this ends here. So what we can do is get rid of the semicolon here, and then down here we'll just say dot controller. Alright, and first parameter here is going to be the controller name. Actually, I've been using single quotes, so let's stick with that. The controller name, which is going to be main CTRL, and its naming convention is to capitalize the first letter and then the first letter of every other word. Alright, that's basically what most developers will do when creating controllers. Alright, so the next thing is going to be the dependencies. Okay, so we want to open up these brackets,